Hey, mathematicians, this problem string or page in your student book as well is on page 34. And what I want you to do with me on this one is fill out page 34 with me as we go. So this one is a fill out with Mr. Mac, just like we would be doing in class, okay? I have a different colored pencil for this because I am going to color in my clock faces with a different colored pencil. I think it's just easier for me to see. And I'm going to write the numbers with my regular pencil, and I'm going to color in my clock face with the colored pencil. So what this is all about is how to write fractions using a clock face model. So before we did the money model, which is out of hundredths, clock face is a little different. So we can use part of the money model with our clock face, but the clocks are broken up into 12 equal pieces, right? So if we think about a clock, we have 12 different slices of a clock because there's 12 hours in a half of a day. So that's how we break it up. We break it up by saying, well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So we have 12 equal pieces of a clock. And that is helpful because we can break up a clock or think of a clock when we talk about fractions that have a denominator of 3 or a 6 or a 12 or even a 4 or a 2. Thirds, like this clock here, down here, a third does not fit into 100 evenly. You cannot split 100 into 3 equal parts evenly. If you split 100 and try to split, the closest you can get to splitting 100 into 3 equal parts is 33 hundredths. And if you add up 33 plus 33 plus 33, you get 99 hundredths, which is not equivalent to 100 hundredths. So we use a clock model to kind of help us think about how we can split different fractions with other denominators or other numbers that will not go into 100 equally. So we're going to start off with a whole clock here. This is our whole clock, and I'm going to color in this whole thing because this clock is representing 60 minutes or 12 twelfths. So if I shade in this whole thing and I say this is 60 minutes, did you know that there are 60 minutes in 1 hour? There are. So 60 minutes or 12 twelfths, we could say, or 60 sixtieths. Remember, it's one whole. So 60 minutes is one whole hour. So I'm going to say 1 hour. I'm going to write 1 hour on the bottom line. So I have 60 minutes or 12 twelfths or 1 hour, or there's another way we could say this 12 sets of five. So that means 12 sets of 5 minutes because between each of these little spots or spaces between the 12 and the 1, 1 and the 2, 2 to 3, those are 5 minute increments as well as 1 hour increments. So not only are they 1 hour increments, but they're also 5 minutes. So we have 12 all the way around, and each of these is 5 minutes. So 12 times 5 is 60 minutes. Okay, so half an hour. So I'm going to color my clock. You could do this too if you want to do it before Mr. Mac. I'm going to just cut my clock in half with my red colored pencil and shade in half of the clock. Okay, so half an hour. How many minutes is that? 30 minutes. Good. So 1/2 equals 30 minutes. I'm going to write that on this line. And this is 30 minutes out of 60 minutes. Okay, so 30 sixtieths. Half an hour is 30 sixtieths. Now, this is how many sets of five. Remember, I had 12 sets of five for the 1 hour. How many sets of five is there in 30 minutes? Well, 30 minutes is half of an hour. If there's 12 sets of five in an hour, let's see here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We have 6 sets of 5, which makes sense because 6 times 5 is 30. Okay. Now we have 1/4, so a fourth of an hour or a quarter hour. Mr. Mack, how long is our recess? Oh, it's a quarter hour long. So how many minutes is that? Well, let's take our colored pencil. I'm going to go down to the dot from the 12, and I'm going to just mark off to the 3 there, the 15-minute mark. So this, out of a pi, is a quarter, or a clock is a quarter hour, which is half of a half. Do you guys recognize that? If I look at my half up here, if I made a line between, if I cut that in half, a fourth is half of a half. I bet you knew that, or I bet that sounds familiar. So 1/4 equals 15 minutes. A fourth of an hour is 15 minutes, which is the same as saying 15/60ths, 15 out of 60 minutes. How many sets of 5 is in here? 1, 2, and 3. There are 3 sets of 5. Okay, 15 minutes, 3 sets of 5. I'm going to move this over a little. Okay, 1/3. Okay, so this is interesting. So we can break our clock into thirds evenly, which we cannot do with our money with hundredths, but we can with the twelfths, right? So if there's 12 equal pieces and I want to cut them into thirds, what's 12 divided by 3? It's 4. So if I go down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, I make a mark here on the 4. Oh, I also want to make a mark from the 12. I always come straight down from the 12. So every fourth is the one we want to count because 12 divided by 3 is 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I want to draw a line from, I think that's the 8, isn't it? Because if I have a 12 here, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so now I've cut my clock into 3 equal parts. And they're asking us to shade in 1/3, just one of those equal pieces. So you can pick any one you want. I'm going to shade in this one up here, though. I'm just shading in 1/3. Okay. So now I have how many minutes? I have 5, 10, 15, 20. Because remember, each part of this section, these sections, is 5 minutes. So 1/3 of an hour is 20 minutes. Mr. Mack, how long till we have to go home? 1/3 of an hour, class. That's 20 minutes. So 20 minutes is the same as saying 20/60ths, right? Or 2/6 or 1/3. So 20 minutes out of 60. And how many sets of 5 do we have here? Well, if it's 20 minutes, we know we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 sets of 5. Okay, so now we're on to the bottom ones, 1/6 and 1/12. And we can break our clock face into sixths and twelfths. So how would I break a clock into sixths? Well, I can tell you that 1/6 is half of 1/3. So, knowing that, I'm going to go ahead and break my clock into thirds again. So let's start by breaking our clock just like we did up here. Let's start with our thirds. But now we're going to break our thirds into half because half of a third is a sixth. So a sixth is a little tiny smaller. So how can I break this into half? Well, if I look between this part up here, this first third, and I go to the halfway mark, which is the 2 here, I'm going to put a line right to the 2. Now I just broke this third into a half, or half of that is a sixth. I'm going to do the same thing with this third here. I'll break that up. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this third up here. I'm going to break it up And look at that. We should have 6 equal pieces on our clock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bing, bing, bing. I do. I have 6 equal pieces. Okay. It's asking us to shade in 1/6. I'm going to take my red colored pencil. I'm going to shade in 1/6. Okay, so 1/6 of an hour is 5:10. 10 minutes. And we write that as 10/60ths, right? Because it's 10 minutes out of 60. And how many sets of 5 are there now? 1, 2. 2 sets of 5, which makes sense because a third is 4 sets of 5. And if a sixth is half that amount, then a sixth would be 2 sets of 5. So 2 times 5 is 10. 4 times 5 is 20. Okay. 1/12. So 1/12, I know that there's 12 equal pieces in a clock, so I can just break my clock into the 12 equal pieces. And I know that a 12th is half of a sixth. So we could really, what I'm going to do is we could start by, if you wanted to, we could cut this into sixths first, like we did on the previous problem. So there's my sixth. It looks just like this. But now I need to cut my sixths in half. So I'm going to draw a line from each sixth to cut it in half. Because remember, first we did thirds. And we cut those in half to make sixths. And then we cut the 6 in half to make twelfths. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so it's asking us to shade in 1/12. So I'm just going to do this one right up here. It's the first one. Okay, 1/12. 1/12 is just this little sliver here, so that's only 5 minutes. And 1/12 is 5 out of 60. 5/60. It's 5 minutes out of 60. And it's only one set of 5. Which makes sense because 1/6 is 2 sets of 5. So half of that would be 1 set of 5. Okay? So remember, we're using the clock method to kind of help us look at how we can break up different fractions other than numbers that can go directly into 100. So we're using these to look at the numbers like 3, denominators like 3, sixths, twelfths, okay? So what I want you to do is make sure you get this all written down on your paper on page 34. Pause this as you need to, and then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do page 35 in our student book. So this was 34. Now we're going to do 35. You can try to work on that on your own. I'm going to do a video walkthrough of that as well if you need assistance with that. All right. Clock faces are awesome. Money is awesome. They're all awesome to help us with fractions.